Okay, so we're going to demonstrate for you our first art project. This is the silly face painting. And so first we're going to introduce our materials, and then we will demonstrate how we do the project, and then you get to see the finished product.
All right, so we are going to start off with a limited color palette, and Heather will explain a bit more later why that's important. So we'll have 2 or 3 different colors of paint on a plate, and then we have a glue stick, and we have different tools to paint with, so you can use paintbrushes, but if you have little kids who may not be able to hold the paintbrush, you can always use a cotton ball on a clothespin and pin it like this, and that makes an interesting sensory painting tool. And then we have googly eyes over here with some school glue, which will help glue the googly eyes to the picture.
And also in terms of painting, you can use just the cotton ball by itself, and you can even do just finger painting. So plenty of choices. And we also, today we are gluing our magazine page onto a piece of Bristol board, which is going to give us more space to paint on around the picture itself. But you could also use just a standard size sheet of cardstock, which is probably going to be more affordable in terms of supplies. And then, as you can see, we've found a variety of magazine paintings. So what you're looking for when you find these magazine pictures is you're looking for full size, something that takes up a majority of the space. And we were looking for things that either had people or animals. So here you can see we have a family playing, and there are words on this page, but the most of the page is the picture itself. So Catherine and I have each selected a magazine page, which we are going to glue to our Bristol board. And gluing the page to the Bristol board is something that you can either do beforehand as a part of your prep, or you can ask families to do that after they've selected their magazine painting. Also, you can decide how you want to distribute the magazine pictures. You can either have the magazine pictures set out at each table, or you can let people kind of go through a stack and pick what they would like. Do you mind if I borrow the glue stick?
Yes.
Okay.
And calendars and catalogs are really good places to find the pictures.
Okay, so now we can start painting. So, let's see. You're going to use the paintbrush. I will use the cotton ball. And at this point in the project, families can, they'll be painting on their own, so hopefully caregivers are leading the art making, but if you have a class of students and you're the only adult, things that you might want to remind students of is try not to paint over the faces, because when we add the wiggle eyes at the end, it will be more fun if you can just see at least a part of the face. And then also when blending colors is a lot of fun, and it teaches us a lot about how colors interact. But part of the reason that we went with a limited color palette is that we don't want too much blending, because things are going to get kind of brown and murky and muddy. So having a limited color palette can help that, and then also limiting the amount of time that people have to paint can also help avoid everything just getting all mixed together and turning brown. But that being said, there's no right or wrong way to paint on the picture, and it doesn't need to look like anything. So especially if you're doing this with really little artists, so you know, babies, toddlers, young pre-K, even if we're just putting paint on the page in random spots, that is totally fine. Really, we're thinking about how paint functions as a material. We're having a sensory experience, and we can fill up the space completely. We can just add colors here and there. We can try and paint onto the picture itself, like, you know, they could think about adding a new shirt to a person, or adding a new background with the paint, or it might just be that the paint is colorful additions to the image that we already have. And you can see how with this larger sheet of paper, we have the opportunity to paint around the image itself. But if you are putting the magazine picture on a smaller sheet of paper, you're going to lose that extra space, but that's totally fine. We've taught this with small pieces of white paper, and it worked great. Okay.
And now we are going to glue the googly eyes. And the good thing about this is that you don't have to wait for the paint to be completely dry. Sometimes you can just put the googly eye directly onto the paint, or if you want to use Elmer's glue, you can do that too.
And you may notice that we were able to paint very quickly, but go ahead and assume that your visitors to your program are probably going to need more time to paint. Also, this can be a fairly quick project, especially if we have a little bit more of a mature artist, so you may consider letting people do more than one. And another recommendation I have in terms of supplies is that I really like the peel and stick wiggle eyes that come with adhesive on the back so that you can just peel away like a sticker backing. But if you don't have those, or if those are out of your price range, just a standard wiggle eye is totally fine. And I always like to make sure I put a lot of the Elmer's glue because it's going to, Elmer's glue is like concrete. Like once it dries, it's gonna stay.
All right, and here are our finished products. So you can see Heather's looks very silly with this family with huge eyes, and I have a very bug-eyed chicken right here.
Yeah, and I think this part can be a lot of fun, especially if you build up to it, that it's going to be pretty silly when you add the wiggle eye. And I think that's a nice kind of reveal at the end of the project, is how your kind of funny faces look with the wiggle eyes added. Uh-oh, my paper fell off. Okay, but there's our finished product.
Yep, and that is the wiggly eye picture.